am happy to be bringing our next amazing speaker to the stage with me, Sonya Van Stee. I'm going to bring you right up here beside me as I talk a little bit about you. Um, you're going to just love hearing from her. We're like instant besties because we've just had a couple good conversations. So fun, so real. Again, another beautiful sister that we all have access to. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Well, here comes that word again, Angel. She is a best-selling international author. Yes, of course she is. She, oh, yeah. And she is certified mental wellness coach with a focus on your gut. No surprise, because we're hearing about that all the time. If your gut's not right, the rest of you is not right. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about how to get that right. So I love it. And her topic is feel like a superhero. Who doesn't love that, right? You stand there in your power position, you instantly feel great. She's going to talk to us about that. Yeah, there you go. Okay, something you probably don't know about her. And I'm telling you, I don't know if you're coming to Vancouver or not, but we all need to, buckle up to the bar and hear some of these things. She is highly talented at making animal noises. All kind of animals, and I want to be part of that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. The music she's listening to right now is Unstoppable by Sia, and of course she has gifts. Yes, so if you again, some people are joining late. Listen up. At the end, they're going to ask a question. You're going to put in your email and you're going to put in the answer to the question, and you stand to win a chance at feeling like a superhero self-care package from Miss Sonya and a private coffee date. Wow, that sounds like trust me, it's a great date. And even if you don't win, reach out and get a date with her. And for all of us, she has a PDF with tips on how to feel like a superhero. Because, right, there's a lot of days we just don't. So, Sonya, take it away and tell us how we're all going to be superheroes.
Thanks so much, Kathleen. Like she said, we just met recently, and it was like an immediate connection. I was like, oh my goodness, I just met another person in my tribe. And I wouldn't have met Kathleen if it wasn't for Deb. Now, Deb, as you know, was not in line when they were handing out the beliefs that you're only one person. What could you possibly do? Yeah, she was not in line that day. So, she's had this project. This is her baby. And she has hit this thing with a passion that is just amazing. And now she has a whole team and she's brought all of us together. None of us would be sitting here right now. None of us, most of us probably would not have met each other right now if it wasn't for this one person. So, what I take from that is be that person because you can make an impact. So none of us were in that line that day. Um, I also want to thank the team that has been putting this together and are all sitting kind of in the background, keeping everything running smoothly. Appreciate all of you. Know that that is a lot of work. But I called my talk Feel Like a Superhero. Um, when I was a kid, public speaking was not on my list of things I wanted to do. It was so far off the radio. It was so far off the radar, it didn't even make the list of things that I wanted to do. I had a number of things that I wanted to do, and one of them was to become a teacher. And ironically, a teacher is basically a public speaker, but just to a different kind of an audience, right? So a little ironic that I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to be a public speaker. But the reason I didn't want to become a public speaker, I was extremely anxious as a child. Well, not just as a child, growing up, even into my adulthood. Um, and so anxious, in fact, that I would not just feel sick to my stomach, but I would be trembling so hard on the inside that there were times where if I was standing still and I was super nervous, if I took a step, I actually would fall over because I just didn't have the strength. My body just didn't know what to do at this point. So this is something I'm very passionate about. And growing up in the 80s, you didn't talk about mental health. You didn't talk about mental wellness, right? That was very taboo. Oh, they're not right in the head, right? A little shaming, a little what I was going to say washboarding. That's not the word. What is it called when somebody listens to you and tells you it's basically your fault? I don't remember what the term is, but gaslighting. Yes, thank you, Angel. Um, so it just wasn't a thing that you talked about back then. And only recently has it been where celebrities are coming out and saying, you know what? I really struggle with mental health. I've been struggling with depression. I've been struggling with feeling alone, feeling stress, and not having anybody to talk to. So you've got Prince Harry that's recently um, come into the limelight with that, and you've got a bunch of other celebrities. You've got The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, you've got Katy Perry, just lots and lots. And you have stories coming out in the newspapers now, finally. And it is okay to talk about mental wellness. It is okay to not be okay. But like one of the other speakers was saying, I don't remember who it was. I can picture her face, but not her name. Said, "We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed." It's, but yeah, it's crazy. We weren't allowed to talk about that, and now things are coming out. Um, and back to my whole wanting to become a teacher, I did end up going and getting a 4-year degree in teaching. And then for my graduate studies, I studied linguistics and cultural anthropology. Um, and with that, I got to do some traveling. I actually lived in a yurt in Outer Mongolia for 6 months. If you have not had that experience, I highly recommend it. I was also had the opportunity to visit Uganda in East Africa. And something that really struck me about being in some of these countries that are not first world countries, the people are just so happy. They'll greet you and say hi to you, and not just greet you, they will have a conversation and genuinely care about what you say. If they meet a friend on the road, they might be on their way to an appointment. That does not matter. Your friendship with that person is more important, and they will stop and they will talk. They'll be late for their appointment, but they don't care because time is different in Africa. They call it African time for a good reason. Here in North America, especially, but anywhere in the West, we are so tied to time. It's like we've become slaves to time, and we stress over these things, and we have timelines and deadlines and all of these things, and we actually put all this extra stress on ourselves that is not good for us. But I really enjoyed seeing these people who had hardly anything in comparison to what I grew up with. And we did not grow up wealthy, but in comparison to them, we were downright rich. Like, but the people were just so happy. There's a whole different mental awareness in some of these other countries. And I really, really enjoyed that. Um, so I actually wanted to talk a little bit about stress. And I know that a few people have mentioned it today already. There seems to be a theme about mental wellness and about stress and how to get beyond that. But you have your good stress and you have your bad stress. Most of the time, we think of stress as being automatically a bad thing because normally it's talked about in a bad connotation. But stress is a natural design. We're designed. So, say for instance, you're a caveman living in caveman times, cave woman, obviously, and you run into a saber-toothed tiger. What are you going to do? You're not just going to stand there and be like, "Hi, kitty, kitty." You're going to run, or if you have something with which to fight them, you're going to fight them, right? So you go into fight or flight, but that's a good thing because it gives you the energy and the stamina to go charging out there or to have the strength to fight that animal. And then once you've expended that energy and all of that adrenaline that just like floods your body and the cortisol, once you're finished and the danger is gone, your body calms you down because you've expended all this energy and you're good until you meet the next saber-tooth tiger, right? But now, in our modern day and age, say for instance, you're sitting in your car, somebody cuts you off, scares you half to death. You know that feeling. Your heart, your stomach just goes straight up into your throat, and you're like, "Goo!" You go into that the fight or flight response again, but you're not going to get out of your car and run. You're not going to get out of your car and fight the person. Well, I hope you're not going to get out of the car and fight somebody. Maybe you will. I don't know. But basically, we don't have an outlet for that pent up adrenaline and cortisol that's flooding our system. And so then we go to work and there's stress at work and we come home and the kids have to go here and there and whatever. And you're trying to coordinate with your husband and your friends and all of this stuff. There's just constant stress being put on us. Some of it we put on ourselves, but a lot of it is external stress. And so we end up living in a state of stress. It's a chronic stress. So your body's in a constant state of fight or flight. So you have all this extra cortisol in you. And as we know, stress is the leading cause of many diseases. You think of heart attacks, strokes, so many things, and it's well documented. This isn't just me making something up. It's well documented that stress can cause a lot of these diseases, is the underlying cause of a lot of these diseases. So what can you do about it? Because it's like, you can't just be like, sorry, boss, no more deadlines, buddy. That's not really an option, right? Unless you work for yourself. I guess you can have that chat with yourself. But um, so what do we do about it? Well, we have this thing called a vagus nerve. And without going into the technical details, it is basically the brakes. So your stress resilience is how well can you activate your vagus nerve to put the brakes on all of that stress that you're waltzing around with. So what can you do to activate your vagus nerve? There's a few different things. I have several things listed in my PDF. I'm just going to talk about one or two right now. One thing that you can do when you're stressed, you have a tendency to clench your jaw. I don't know if you notice that. I notice it on myself. You kind of really clench and you're like really tight and all of your muscles are kind of tensed up. So if you just open your jaw really low, like pretend that you're going to yawn, which sometimes when I pretend I'm going to yawn, that's exactly what I do. So try it with me. You just open your jaw, let it loose. And when you do that, you also tend to take a deep breath. So that's bringing in the extra oxygen. That's signaling your brain that, okay, we're calm enough that we have time to take a breath and yawn. We're not being chased by the saber-tooth. Have you ever seen somebody running yawn while they're running? I probably not. So it's signaling your body that you have a chance now to just calm down, take a breath, move on, you're okay. And so then it can start depleting and sending that cortisol back down. You can also do breathing exercises. I'm not going to go into those. There's tons of them. You can look them up online. One of my favorites is box breathing. And then there's various supplements that you can take. I have found some supplements from a company called Amari, which is the mental wellness company. And they have specific probiotics that actually help lower the cortisol. Actually, they don't lower the cortisol. They provide the food for the bacteria that are like your gut bacteria for them to lower your cortisol. So it's basically helping your body do what it's designed to do. And that brings me into gut health, which is my passion, which I left to last. But it's so much research nowadays is talking about the correlation between your stress and anxiety, depression, all those things, and your gut health. When I was a kid with all of those problems with my anxiety, I also had very, very bad stomach aches. It got so bad, I was having diarrhea 5, 6 times a day. And I'm not just talking about, oh, just mosey into the bathroom. I'm talking run quickly to the bathroom as fast as you can before you explode. Sorry, that's probably a little too much information there. But I can see Kathleen laughing over there. But, it got really, really bad. And my gut health was affecting my mental health, and my mental health was affecting my gut health. And it just became like this rolling ball of horribleness. And so, you have this gut, and, people talk about the gut. And I used to think that was your stomach. It is not. It's your entire digestive system. And you have a microbiome that consists of trillions of microorganisms. Like, I was comparing it to the number of, I don't remember the numbers offhand, but if you take the number of microorganisms in your gut versus the number of human cells that you have, you're actually only like a 10th human, just based on number. Obviously, that's not the case because the microorganisms are very, very tiny. but like there's that many of them in your gut. And so there's the good guys and the bad guys. Well, you don't want to feed the bad guys. You want to feed the good guys. And how do you do that? Because those are the ones that are going to help you with your stress and your anxiety and your cortisol and all the rest of that jazz. These other guys, they're going to send signals to your brain. Hey, you need to eat more chips because that's what I like to eat. Hey, remember that cake you had yesterday? There's still some in the fridge. You should eat that. And so a lot of times, those of us who've struggled with our weight all of our lives, and for some reason that seems to be very well coordinated with gut problems and anxiety, it's not a problem with willpower. It's not your fault that you crave the sweets and the chips and all of that stuff. Now, that being said, just because it's not your fault doesn't mean that you can't take responsibility for it. So I can't say, well, it's not my fault that I'm overweight. Yes, that's true, but I am the one who can do something about it at this point. So that was kind of a little off the beaten trail and wasn't meant to say that, but apparently I was meant to say that. So you want to feed the good guys. The bad guys, they really like processed food. And unfortunately, the standard American diet, which ironically spells out SAD, SAD. So the SAD diet is 63% processed foods and only 12% of whole plant foods. Like, just give that a thought for a second. We all know in our heads that the plants are better for us than the processed stuff, but we keep reaching for the processed stuff. And I know there's a few people who have mentioned today that don't don't go crazy and change a whole bunch of things all at once, because that's just going to overwhelm you. It's going to overwhelm your system, and you're going to give up. So make a little change. Maybe have a little less processed food this week than you did last week. Maybe have an extra leaf of lettuce on your burger if you need to. You know what I mean? Add a little of the good, take away a little of the bad, and as you feel better, you'll make better choices, and as you make better choices, you'll feel better, etc. So once again, I'm taking some supplements that have helped me with helping me feel better, because I just didn't have I just didn't have the strength, or maybe it was the willpower, something, to make the good decisions when I wasn't feeling well. So I started taking these supplements that helped me feel better, that stopped me from running to the bathroom every 5 minutes and not being able to leave the house for fear I'd have an accident. Every time I walked into a restaurant, the first thing I would do was scope out, where's the bathroom? I need to sit close to it. It was really horrible. Anyway, so I started taking these supplements. They helped me feel better. I make better choices. I feel better. And it ends up being this big spiral upward, not downward. So that's basically what I wanted to say today. I do have a PDF for everyone that is going to go through some of those things, help you to make better choices. I've got something called the 30-day, what is it called? The 30 plant challenge. And I'll explain that in the PDF because I am out of time. So I'm going to stop talking and take it back to Kathleen.
Oh, we can't hear you, honey, but it was fantastic. Let me speak until you do. Oh my gosh, it's always such an education, Sonya. Thank you so much for being thorough. I think it's no accident that you and Dr. Sophia are back to back, but I'm going to give the stage back to Kathleen. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you.
I was going to ask you, so what is this stress you speak of? We have no idea. And I know you have so many tricks in your bag. And for anybody who's wondering about that vagus nerve, no, it's not a trip to the casino, but it is such a key spot, right, to calming that stress. And it's available to us to activate it in any moment. So definitely connect with Sonya so she can teach you how to get that going and take yourself out of that cortisol. You gave us so much good information. And, one thing that came to mind, you talk about common sense. You talked about things that should be common sense, right? We all know, given the choice of a piece of lettuce or a nice, beautiful salad or fresh fruit and a bag of chips, common sense says we know which one's right, right? But I love how you framed it and you said, yeah, you know, it's not your fault that the mind's saying, hey, go get those chips to heck with that other stuff. But I also love that you said, you know, I don't know how you exactly said it, but just about you do get to take responsibility for it. And that's a mic drop. That's a boom, because you hear all the time, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. That it's kind of a new message, right? But they forget the part where we can take responsibility. So it's just another empowering message to never let go of the power that you have. And I love that. I love what you shared. So and you're so funny and so honest. Lots of the comments in the chat was, she's just, you know, they're down to earth comments. They're just real, and we appreciate that again, that authenticity. So I do have, I think, well, it is a super simple question. It's getting late in the day and I want to get, and I see people raising their hand going, yes, I want that. Lots of people were right there with you shaking their head. She started out in the very beginning talking about this stress monster. And she said, you know, we need stress. And she said, stress can be good and stress can be, what is it? One word answer. All we need is your email and then the answer to this, and you're going to get, the one lucky person is going to get that superhero self-care package from Sonya.
Yay.
Thank you, Sonya. So good.
Let's
Yes,
do some love and some jazz hands. Oh my gosh. And I want to do a big shout out for everyone.